Hey Kev, let's follow this trail over here. This looks like there might be something waiting down there.
All right. Hey, wait a minute. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I thought it was just me. What the heck is that?
I don't know what that is. Whoa, do you smell that too?
That's unbelievable. Hey, look.
What the?
Hey, look, those branches are moving over there.
What the heck is that?
Holy cow, is that what I think it is? Look at that thing.
Oh my God.
It's a freaking Sasquatch. Welcome to the Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters podcast. My name is W.J. Sheehan. I am your host and author of the series of books entitled Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters. 12 editions available in paperback, ebook, and audio format. And may I have the royal trumpets? Thank you so much. Both the Northeast edition and the Southeast edition are now available in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. Kev, I'm not sure if I announced that the last time, but I made sure I announced it tonight.
Let me check my records. I don't know either.
That's right. That makes two of us, you know. Somebody bang a garbage can.
I don't remember doing the royal trumpet last week.
Well, maybe I'm right and maybe I'm wrong.
Awesome.
Listen, you may read this email next week, perhaps. I want to say hi to Greg the Bouncer in California. Greg's a good guy, big old bloke. Hangs out in some rock and roll club out there somewhere in, I think, Southern California. He's been getting up with me a little bit. He's a good guy. And he was just commenting on my purchase of my EVH 5150 amp. And I believe Greg said you're going to melt some faces with that, whatever that means.
Awesome.
Good to hear from you, Greg. Glad to have you on board. And all the folks that listen to us, we're always glad to hear from you and know that you're out there digging what we're cooking, man.
Awesome.
So, Kev, how you doing, all right?
I'm doing all right. We've been traveling all over the place. I went for a quick trip to London this week. 3 days total, including travel time to London. So that knocked me back a little bit on the tired scale, but I'm doing all right.
Yeah, and folks, Kev had sent me a picture of what is the reconditioned Cutty Sark clipper.
Yeah, T-clipper.
T-clipper over in England. You guys were having some type of meeting below the boat's hull, which was like a bar or like a restaurant or something, right?
Yeah, like a bar underneath the boat. So the boat is on the Thames River, but it's in a dry dock on the Thames River, and they reconditioned, like a permanent dry dock, they reconditioned underneath of it where it's like a bar where you can hang out and have drinks while you're walking the length of the Cutty Sark clipper.
Yeah.
Right underneath the keel and the copper-clad hull. It was super cool.
Yeah, I tell you, I really dug those pictures because, of course, it was taken at night and the above deck and masts were lit up in the one shot, and then, of course, the shot underneath, where you could see this glistening, varnished hull. And the table set up underneath it and everything. That was really a spectacular.
Super cool. I mean, folks, you ever get over there to London, out on the east side of London, the Cutty Sark, I've been there probably 50 times to that part of London. I've never been to the Cutty Sark. It's fantastic.
Yeah, really cool.
Check it out.
Thanks for sending me that picture. I thought that was a really cool shot. I was like, what is this?
I know. I was thinking, what is this? And I was there.
And is this open to the outside, Kev? The under part, the part
No,
under
it has glass over it. So
Oh,
like
okay.
you're underneath and you can see the sky, but it has like a bubble of glass that comes out from the sides of the hull
Okay.
and then down to the bottom of this dry dock,
Wow.
you know.
What an amazing idea. I mean,
Really cool. Like I
yeah.
walked up to it because it's on the river, and I walked down the river for an hour to get to it, and just to get some exercise. And you walk up on it, and you don't realize it's not floating, and you're looking at this glass around the bottom of it, and then you're looking down through the glass, and you're like, "That's the bottom of the ship."
Wow. Amazing,
And I
man.
didn't know that's where I was going. You know,
Amazing. Amazing,
yeah,
man.
super cool.
So, what do we have in our cryptids in the news and other oddities segment today?
Well, Bill, Halloween is coming up. So we're going to get a little spooky and maybe even get a little creepy.
Are we talking about clowns?
Not clowns.
All right.
That might be the Halloween episode.
Yeah, they're freaking spooky and creepy. Some people really hate clowns.
I'm not a huge fan of clowns.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how many people think that clowns are creepy, that weird mask makeup. It's just, it rubs people the wrong way.
Well, especially if they saw the Stephen King It movies.
Which I never.
Rub you the wrong way.
Yeah, which I never did. But I'm not a horror show guy, folks. I'm not a horror show guy.
Yeah, you wouldn't be an It fan either. Then.
No. If I ran into it would be receiving many grains of lead.
A little lead overdose.
Oh, hi, it. Boom!
Yeah, but we're going to get a little bit of the creep on and do a little ghost stories because, again, Halloween's coming up.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to go up to northern New Hampshire.
Okay.
And we're going to visit the Mount Washington Hotel.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I've actually stayed at the Mount Washington Hotel a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in Bretton Woods, which is way up on the northern end of New Hampshire, up by Mount Washington, hence the name, the Mount Washington Hotel.
Yeah, and just in passing, I have heard some creepy stuff about that place. Not a lot, but I heard there was some paranormal activity going on there.
There is a lot of paranormal activity going on there. So,
wow.
Yeah, so and it's this big, grandiose, multi-winged lodge, multi-stories high and big wings spreading out to either side, white building, just spectacular old place, huge, on a different scale. And it was built in 1902, so a long time ago, right? 125 or so years ago, by a guy named Joseph Stickney.
Okay.
And it used to be, when it was first built, it was only open during the summer months. Okay, so folks would come up there in the summertime, and they were looking for a little paradise in the countryside. Okay.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Nice place.
Beautiful place. And I've been up there in the summertime. I've never been up there in the wintertime. And it's beautiful. It's got the big wraparound porch with the white rockers out on the porch, and you're looking out at the mountains. I mean, it's spectacular. You can only imagine in 1902, right? Like, had to be off the charts.
Yeah, it was
nothing else like that.
It was a go-to destination.
Exactly. So Joseph, who built it, he died shortly after the hotel was built. And his wife, her name was Carolyn, she remarried a French prince. So she became Princess Carolyn.
Is that the Princess Caroline that we know?
No, different princess.
Okay.
Unless you know a ghost.
Well, me and Caroline are actually good friends.
Maybe I'm giving something away.
All right, lay it on me, bro.
And although Carolyn remarried this French prince, she used to come back and spend summers at the hotel.
Okay.
And now it's believed that Carolyn actually haunts the hotel.
Wow. They've seen her?
Many times. Many different people have seen her. And she used to have her own suite at the hotel, room number 314, and it's actually now a guest room.
Wow.
And get this, the bed that's in the guest room is the same bed that Carolyn had.
Wow.
Yeah.
What, they couldn't buy a new one?
I don't know. And what, this won't shock you, Bill, because we've done enough of these stories.
Yeah.
People wait in line to book a night in room 314.
That is amazing. Would you do that?
I'd be waiting in line to not book a night in 314.
I don't understand that whole desire.
I don't get it.
Wow,
I
man.
mean,
you might get more than you bargained for booking one of these rooms in these joints,
Yeah, yeah. So, you mentioned it, Bill, but this Mount Washington Hotel, it's become a real hotspot for paranormal experiences. And with both guests and, of course, employees of the Mount Washington Hotel experiencing these ghostly encounters. And we're going to talk about a few of these.
Okay.
Right? So, you can imagine. And, of course, now, let me backtrack. It is open year-round, so you can go up there in the wintertime. And they do offer out, special rates, probably more expensive rates, God knows why, for the princess's room, number 314.
Wow. So you're paying more.
Yeah, you pay more.
Yeah. Some people like to be tormented.
And, maybe meet an evil spirit that can follow them home or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Not sure what that's about, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Philip, I know you're listening, bro. I bet you'd have something to say about evil spirits following people home.
So we're going to talk about one of these encounters. This one is going to get the creep on, okay?
All right.
This woman, who's a housekeeper working there in 1997, so not that long ago, but, a while back, she had to clean room 314, the princess's room. She says, I went to service the room, and there were newlyweds staying in the room. And I knocked on the door, and there was no answer.
Oh, boy.
I opened the door and went in, and there was a little girl sleeping on the bed.
Oh, my God.
Immediately, I went out to the hallway to see my room inspector and told her I couldn't clean the room because there was a little girl sleeping in the bed. She said, well, that's odd because the guests were newlyweds and nobody else was registered in the room. She asked me to leave a note that I was coming back in an hour to service the room. I went back to the room to leave the note by the table. I walked in the room quietly to not wake up the little girl. When I looked at the bed, instead of a little girl, there was a woman staring right back at me with the most scary smile on her face.
Oh, come on.
She had a black hair and was wearing a white dress. I got chills down my spine and just stood there frozen.
I'm getting chills thinking about it.
I was just going to say, Bill, I got chills reading this. And she sat on the bed and kept staring at me. I ran out of the room and told my friend, who was also a housekeeper. We both went back in the room, and there was no one there.
And no little girl anymore either.
No little girl either. And she says, I still have a hard time remembering that incident, and I get chills every time I speak about it.
Wow. Who wouldn't?
Go ahead.
I just said who wouldn't?
I know.
Holy cow.
I have many friends that have worked there, and I heard a lot of scary things that happened. Oh, the day before this happened, my friend and I took pictures of ourselves on the princess's bed. Everyone tells me that I upset the princess by doing that.
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
How do you like that?
It's just totally creepy. Oh, man. Kev, you remember talking about that hotel you stayed in, that octagonal-shaped building where you heard the music down in...
in Denver.
Yeah, the there used to be a room down there where quartets or something played, and you were hearing the music twice in a row, right, at night, coming from downstairs?
Absolutely. Yeah, we did an episode on that.
Yes.
I gotta look up the name of that place.
Yeah, I mean, all of that stuff to me, you want to talk about paranormal activity. Some people call that residual hauntings and whatnot. I think there's quite a bit more to that than a residual haunting.
I agree. Yeah, that's called the Brown Palace.
The Brown Palace, that was it.
Old hotel in downtown Denver. And, I knew, like, when I've stayed at the Mount Washington Inn or Mount Washington Hotel, I didn't know it was haunted. Mm-hmm. So now if I go back there again, don't worry, I won't be staying in the princess's room, but I will, have my ears and eyes open a little bit more. But the Brown Palace, when I stayed there a few years ago, I knew it was haunted. And Sure enough, it did wake me up at night, the music.
Now, was this the only haunting, this Princess Caroline at the Mount Washington?
That's the main one, but they do talk about having curtains and things like that move and drapes close and weird things disappear from the room and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is all typical activity. It's like poltergeist activity.
Yeah.
The poltergeist.
Yeah. And they say, some of the people that, write in and stuff, they said, if you're feeling extra brave, Bill, I highly recommend booking hotel room 314 and trying your luck in the Princess Caroline room.
Yeah.
And it says, I also suggest asking the concierge to show you the photo of the ghost that is kept at the reception desk. In my opinion, this will convert any non-believer.
Wow.
How do you like that?
Oh, man.
Creep fest, right?
It is a creep fest. Remember in The Shining when the little kid comes running down the hall in the big wheel and he rounds that corner and the two girls are standing there? Man alive, man.
But by the way, this place looks like that big Shining Inn as well.
Yeah, what's the name of that place again? It's on
the one out in Colorado that inspired it.
Right, that's
the one that it was filmed at is the one in near on the side of Mount Hood out in Oregon.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the one where it was inspired.
Inspired. Yeah.
Oh God, what was the name of that hotel? Anyways,
I went there too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not important. I just had it on the tip of my tongue and I lost it. Now, if it was a crumb bun, there's no way I would have lost it on the tip of my tongue.
Oh, I know it. It's out in Estes Park, and it's called the Stanley Hotel.
The Stanley. I wasn't thinking Stanley, but
yeah.
The Stanley. Oh my God,
that's awesome. And it's the
That
same guy was the guy who made the Stanley steamer, the car.
Yeah, and
steam-powered car.
I heard that he had originally gone out there for medicinal purposes.
That's exactly right. He was going to die.
Yeah.
And he went out to Denver for medicinal purposes, and then he wasn't doing well out in Denver because of all of the mining and stuff like that.
Okay.
It was causing him more problems. And then the guy who was his doctor said, well, you're going to die. Why don't you go up to Estes Park with your wife and you guys can spend your last days up there? Like, it wasn't at all a cure for him. It was meant to be like a treat. Like, go stay up there for a few weeks, before you die.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it cured him because the air was so clear and that it helped him.
Amazing, huh?
Yeah, crazy.
Wow. Well, interesting stuff. Is that it?
That's it.
Superman. I got something really cool here. This story was a Bigfoot account. This story was shared with me by Roberto Gonzalez, who at the time of this sighting was a resident of Texas. And this is what Roberto had to say. Interesting to him. We'll talk about this when I'm done. In 2005, I had already been living in Texas for 9 years. So let's see, go back '96, I guess he moved there. I was employed by a large ranching firm, and my job consisted of just doing about anything and everything you could imagine. Over the course of my tenure with the firm, the boys and I had been on many a hunt in our leisure time. We had also spent a good deal of time hunting varmints and other critters that attacked livestock and the like. Without telling you where I was, simply because I haven't asked permission to do so, there was a group of men who were making a side living hunting wild hogs for landowners all over the area. In case you're unaware, wild hogs are infesting the entire southern United States, and they are spreading like a plague. We've heard that before. Not only are they doing a tremendous amount of property damage, but in some cases they are beginning to attack humans. Some of these hogs can weigh in at over 1,000 pounds and are well capable of killing someone. Now, there was one group of fellas that had asked me during the course of my employment if I was interested in making some good side money, to which I said, absolutely. The side business of which they were speaking was that of hunting hogs at night. These guys were so skilled and so well prepared for what they did that they actually were using military-grade night optic helmets and infrared scoped and silenced rifles. I had been out on well over 50 hunts with these boys, and although many of their clients were repeat business, we never really knew where we may end up on the next call. The people who called for their help were mostly concerned about hogs coming too close to where they lived and where their children played. This was a really big concern, as you could imagine. A hog could charge a child and gash them open with their tusks, and they would even eat flesh and blood if they felt like it. The men trailered in what were basically heavy-duty modified electric golf carts. The men trailered in what were basically heavy-duty modified electric golf carts that could run around without any noise at night. Maybe golf cart is a bad term because these things were more like midget stomping 4x4s than golf cars. At any rate, we were well into a tract of land that we had been called into for the 5th time by the landowner. I learned while I was doing this work that hogs multiply at a rate of 20% a year. So if you don't do anything about them, you can quickly have a problem on your hands. There are millions of them in the United States as we speak, and they're growing in numbers at a ridiculous rate annually. Pigs are also known to be one of the smartest animals on the planet, and these hogs are part of that family. While working on many of these properties, we had noticed that the hogs will take advantage of mingling in the area of the cows and the steer. They seem to use them as an early warning system for potential incoming predators, such as, I didn't even finish that there, potential incoming predators, forgive me. Many times, as we were scoping out some of the larger hogs we wanted to cull out, the cows would start mooing well before we could get in range of the hogs, sensing danger, and they would quickly scamper off into the woods. We had to exercise great caution in that we didn't want to arbitrarily shoot a cow passing in front or behind a hog as we took a shot. It was late Saturday night when we made our way deep into this 2,000-plus acre piece of land, when we saw a large herd of these hogs running around, and we stopped. It's not uncommon for a pack of coyotes to try to take down the young or the lame, and we were thinking that this was exactly what was happening, hence the herd running. As we were focusing on where the herd had been running from, one of the guys said to the group, "If I didn't know any better, it looks to me like there's a large bear tearing into a hog on the ground over there." Interesting, huh?
Crazy.
We all knew there were no bears, and so did he. But we couldn't make any sense out of what exactly was huddled over this apparent boar on the ground. I was looking intently and saw what I believed was long arms working on the fallen hog. It was only moments later, when what had been crouched over the hog stood to its feet, picking up the mammoth pig and slinging it over its shoulder. This hog had to weigh 300 pounds or better, and it looked like a small dog when this creature picked it up, compared to the size of the beast we were seeing. As soon as it stood up, two of the boys said, "It's a damn Bigfoot. That's incredible." Bobby said, "That's why that herd was running so fast. That big bastard just took one of them out for dinner." Excuse me. We were watching this scenario go down at about 200 yards, so it was difficult to judge the size of the Bigfoot, but we were well schooled at judging the size of hogs, based on prior experience. This Bigfoot seemed to be in mass at least 5 times as big as the hog. And the way in which it flipped this 300-pound pig on his shoulders was like you or I grabbing a 10-pound sack of spuds. I mean, it just flipped it on its back and started walking away. We watched it walking for about 100 yards when Davy said, "Let's try to follow it." Of course, we didn't know if this Bigfoot knew we were even there. But we knew he was there because we were using night vision and infrared. We kept our distance, but this thing was walking really fast. A couple of times we temporarily lost sight of him as he passed through some heavy brush and thicket. About 20 minutes later, we could see that he was approaching a thicket where there were 2 others awaiting his return. One being shorter than him and the other being quite small, maybe 4 feet in height. We now knew that this must have been a father out on a hunt and returning with the kill. The little one started to jump around like a child having received a present. After a few moments, they all seemed to squat down around the hog, apparently feasting on it. We eased on out of there at sunup, had told the landowner what we had seen. He was real interested, as you would well imagine, and later that afternoon, we had agreed to meet up and head back to where we had seen them. At about 5 p.m., we made our way into the spot where we had seen the meeting. There was a small pack of coyotes gathered around the area. We drove in and spooked them off to expose what was the remains of the hog. As it turns out, what was left, which wasn't much, was the carcass of a much bigger hog than we even had anticipated. The hog, before it was eaten, had to be all of 700 pounds, which is nearing monster size for these critters. This also meant that the Bigfoot was even stronger and larger than we had initially thought, judging the size of the hog against what we thought the Bigfoot's size was. Now, looking at this hog, I would have to say that the Bigfoot was well over 2,000 pounds, more than likely well over 10 feet tall, based on what we had seen the night before. The landowner asked us why we didn't bag it, and to a man we had no answer. To us, I guess it didn't seem like the right thing to do at the time. We were fascinated by the sheer spectacle of seeing this thing. Nobody had even mentioned pulling the trigger or dispatching it when we had the chance. Think about this, Bill. Picking up 700 pounds and throwing it over your shoulder. If by some chance you can make sense out of that, now think about walking a mile in the brush with that hog on your back. The sheer strength and endurance of these monsters is incredible. This size hog would have attacked you and me and probably could have killed us. And yet somehow this Bigfoot was able to take it down in the open field and kill it. I only wish I had been looking in that direction when the takedown had occurred. That would have been amazing to watch. What do you make of that, Kev?
Man, like grabbing and taking down a 700-pound wild pig and then picking it up and carrying it away, I can't imagine.
Yeah, I saw a 1,200-pounder once roped up and hanging from the elevated bucket of like a backhoe.
Really?
And there was a guy standing there with his gun, and this thing was hanging up. I mean, you never saw anything like it. This 1,200-pound pig made this grown man, whatever size he was, there was no description of his height and weight, but he looked like a reasonably, stout man, and this hog made him look like a child. The girth and the size of the head. And I said to myself, 700 pounds of pig.
Insane.
And they're long and they're fat. They're not just like a butterball. Pigs can get pretty sizable in dimensions,
Oh, yeah.
Amazing, huh? Hunting hogs. And Neil, if you're listening, my buddy Neil down in Georgia, they had a couple of Bigfoot encounters revolving around hogs on the property down there.
Oh.
So it's interesting. These hogs are infiltrating. But if you think about it, Kev, if a little pig was available, let's just say a 30, 40, 50-pounder, it would be an easy snack for a creature with speed and strength to catch it, wrangle it, break its neck, whatever, snap its legs off, and just have its way with it, And
you'd have 100%. Yeah.
You'd have a good meal. But to take down one of the big ones,
Ooh.
That's like, a show.
That's crazy. That's
crazy. A show of bravado,
Yeah, no, it's crazy stuff. Really crazy stuff.
But here we go again with somebody estimating the Bigfoot at 2,000. I mean, that's a lot of freaking LBs,
Well,
man.
if you're carrying a 700-pound hog, then it's easier to get to the 2,000 pounds, right?
No, I understand that, but if you watch wrestling, which I don't, you see a 250-pound guy, a 300-pound guy, weightlifter, pick up another 300-pound guy and
Oh, yeah, give him a toss.
spin him around. But now we're talking about throwing this thing over his shoulder and hiking a mile.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a backpack? Oh, my God. 700-pound hike. But anyways, I thought that was really interesting.
That's awesome.
I brought it to the table tonight.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Great stuff. Great account. Down in Texas. Probably in the big thicket. I know he didn't say where he was.
Well, I don't think it would be in the big thicket because these were properties owned by individuals that they were hunting on.
Oh, okay.
The thicket is part of state land. I'm pretty sure there are 3 or 4 segments of forest down there that have been preserved after the rest were ransacked with oil exploration or whatever. I remember reading something about that a while ago. There used to be much more woodland in certain parts of Texas that were just taken out.
Makes sense.
And then at some point, the government said, no, we got to save what's left, And interesting enough around here as a side point, Kev, you grew up over here. The town, I know the town of Brookhaven, has been buying up parcels and putting signs on them like parkland.
Okay.
So I know what they're doing. They don't want Suffolk County to become like Nassau County, where every parcel owned by somebody becomes an apartment house or houses on an eighth of an acre, one driveway next to the other one,
Yeah.
So I think that's a damn good idea,
Yeah, it's great.
But at least it's taxpayer dollars being well spent, I think.
Yeah.
But
Cool, man.
There you have it. What do we got in our listener mail?
We'll cover a couple of listener mail here. The first one comes in from Brad. Mm-hmm. And Brad's talking about infrasound. And I had to look that up, Bill. I had heard it before, but I couldn't remember what it is. So infrasound.
Ken, you said infra, like INFRA?
Exactly.
I know what that is, if you want a little explanation.
You do? All right, let's go.
Well, that's sound that is below, not above. It's below the human range of hearing.
Exactly.
And certain animals like tigers, they believe use the infrasound to their advantage.
You mean when they're going?
Yeah, and we can't even
hear them when they're doing that.
Right, they go low and they're still going when you can't hear them. Interesting.
That's when they're sneaking up on you and they're going to bite you.
Yeah, well, I don't think they have to do too much sneaking.
Yeah, so Brad writes in about infrasound, and he says, "Greetings, WJ and KJ from Indiana. Forgive me, WJ, if this was ever covered during your Tales of Bigfoot segment, but has the witnesses you've spoken to over the years when writing your books ever brought up the phenomena that a Bigfoot might use infrasound? I know shows like Expedition Bigfoot have mentioned that, especially in season 1, when the original member of the team supposedly was suffering the effects of infrasound. I know everyone has their thoughts on that, but I was just curious if that has ever been brought up in the conversations with others, and what your opinion is on that very subject matter. Thank you for the great work. Keep up, and God bless."
Amen to that, Brad. Kev, you want me to comment on that?
Yeah. I mean, has it come up in your interviews?
Yeah, well, firstly, relative to the Expedition Bigfoot show, where one of the initial searchers was taken out of the show and purportedly hospitalized and never came back. There was mention that he felt, or they felt, that infrasound had been the culprit. I think Ronnie, who's no longer with the show, had first mentioned it. Now, look, whether anybody mentions it or not, it's all speculation. Because how do you measure or comment on what you can't hear?
Yeah, you got to have some equipment or something, right?
Yeah, you'd have to be able to prove it out.
Right.
So to just comment, like so much Bigfoot baloney, that, it's infrasound, these creatures, really, they can mess with your head. I'm not buying any of it. I see no evidence of it. And if they do, how would you know it?
Right.
If you could stand next to a tiger's cage and not even know when he's in the infrasound level, how do you speculate about something you can't even get next to?
Right.
You just say, he must have got hit with infrasound. That's why he's so sick. Take him to the hospital.
Yeah.
To me, all of this stuff muddies the water of legit Bigfoot phenomena. And look, it's okay. It's entertainment. But I'm just not buying it, Is it happening? Perhaps. Is the moon made out of cheese? Perhaps.
No, not perhaps.
Hey, Kev, the cartoons showed me that a rocket hit the moon in the face and he was crying. Oh, you don't have to believe it. I believe it, man.
All right, you're the one.
But thanks to Brad anyway. I don't know if that answered your question, Brad, but we're just commenting on it.
Well, I mean, has it come up, Bill? People you've interviewed, do you recall it coming up?
I haven't had one person mention the subject of infrasound to me.
Okay. Cool.
So there you have it.
That's good data. That's a good data point. All right, and our last email, Bill, this is really nice. Anna writes in, is Kevin okay? And she says...
you mean mentally or physically?
Mentally. But she says, is Kevin okay? With 3 question marks. I just want to see if Kevin is okay after the several hurricanes ripped through the southern states, including North Carolina. And Anna's down in Florida, and she said, we're recovering down here in Florida, but, I'm not sure. I hope you guys are both safe. And Anna, thanks for writing in. I am very safe, and fortunately, although we have gotten hit with some bad hurricanes historically, this time around, in my part of North Carolina, we've been safe. But of course, pray for the folks out in western North Carolina where, the news really isn't, in my opinion, thoroughly covering the damage that has happened out there. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, now, Kev, Philip, our buddy Philip again, had sent a picture of the town that he had grown up in.
Okay.
This place was underwater.
Yeah, it's decimated.
And Philip, who's an old mountaineer, explained to me that when the heavy rains come into the mountains, the water from those rains coming down the mountains cannot be realized at the lower levels for a day or two. So you could get hammered after the fact by what's coming down that you're not even thinking about.
Right.
It takes a while for that saturated ground to start leaching and water to gather, like feeding into streams and creeks that start turning into rushing torrents, And
100%, yeah.
I thought that was a good point. By the way, what was that woman's name? Anna?
Anna, yeah.
Anna, I happen to know, I know Kevin won't mind, that Kevin had all of his gym shorts and socks on the clothesline when the hurricane came through and he lost everything.
That's right, they blew all over.
I lost 20 pairs of socks.
Very bad.
Really bad. And what did they name that storm to? What was it? Milton or something?
Milton was the second one through.
The second one.
And then Milton, yeah.
Helene and Milton.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I always said, Kev, they should name these storms like Demon from Hell 1.
Exactly.
And Demon from Hell 2.
Yeah.
I don't know why they put persons' names on them or where that ever came from,
Yeah.
They should name it the Hammer of Doom.
It's definitely bad. Definitely frightening.
Pick titles of Black Sabbath songs, like Fairies Wear Boots or something, and name your crummy hurricane after that.
War Pig.
War Pig. There's another good one, Kev. Oh, my God. Well, that was good stuff, Kev. And I really liked hearing about that Washington Hotel Princess Caroline Creep Fest.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't know what Kev's doing. I never know what Kev's really doing. Once in a blue moon, you give me an inkling.
Well, mainly if I want you to watch something. Like
right.
If I'm going to cover a video, I'll be like, hey, Bill, watch this video I'm going to cover ahead of time.
Right.
So that we can talk about it.
Exactly. But other than that, I don't know where Kev's going on each podcast. But I will say this, Kev, with Halloween coming up, I hope you're going to pull something out of the hat Halloween related. If possible. I don't know.
Oh, that's not me. That's someone outside my window.
Yeah. Time to get the lead out, and I'm not talking Zeppelin.
Awesome. Well, great podcast, Bill. That's it for this week, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening, and thanks for all your support as well.
Excellent. And remember, folks, leave us a 5-star review. And if you're buying any of my audio books or paperback books, which I hope you are, please leave good reviews on them. And, if you should be happening to be walking around the White Mountains of New Hampshire, or perhaps you're down in Texas, taking a walk with your girlfriend in the evening, you best remember one thing, my friends. Always carry more gun than you think you're going to need. Sleep tight.